Can you all see the slides? Okay, amazing. Okay, I think we can start. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sarah Abou. I'm a Med 1 student at Balamain University and one of this year's Lamsa ambassador. Today, I'll be talking about a subject that is very dear, very close to my heart, which is happiness. Specifically tackling dopamine boost, how to naturally increase our dopamine level. I think you can guess by the title of the presentation that the main question we are concerned about is how can I become happier? I am sure we all ask ourselves this complex question at least once, and to try as much as possible to answer it, I am going to start by defining happiness, then continue by talking about the key words of this presentation, which are dopamine boost, followed by presenting the newest findings in the medical field, ending with the available resources. And hopefully by the end of the presentation, I'll see a smile on everyone's face. So let's start by what is happiness. As you know, it has many different definitions. According to Cambridge Dictionary, it's feeling, showing, or causing pleasure or satisfaction. I think we can all agree that that's easier said than done. Going into more details, according to a very well-mined medical journal, it's an emotional state characterized by feeling of joy, satisfaction, contentment, and fulfillment. This specifically shows how subjective and personalized happiness is. But scientifically talking, the biological causes behind this emotional state are 4 hormones, commonly known as the happy hormones. First, we're going to start by dopamine, that I will be extensively talking about as the feel-good hormone and neurotransmitter. That's an important part of the brain reward system. It is associated with pleasure sensation along with learning, memory, motor system function, and more. Serotonin, hormone and neurotransmitter that helps regulate our mood as well as our sleep, appetite, digestion, learning ability, and memory. Third, oxytocin, which is the love hormone, essential for childbirth, breastfeeding, and strong parent-child bonding. It helps promote trust and empathy in relationships, and oxytocin level generally increase with physical affection. Fourth, endorphin. It's the body's natural pain reliever. Levels also tend to increase when we engage in reward-producing activities, eating, workout, etc. So as you can see, these hormones not only regulate our mood, but also physical function. So it's very important to release them in adequate concentration. Now talking about dopamine, it's our achievement hormone. Dopamine is the motivation molecule that drives us to seek reward in achieving goals and enable us to take the effort it requires to be successful. Higher levels of dopamine also tend to make us social and extroverted with people who matter, in turn supporting our goal-seeking behavior. Lastly, dopamine increases assertiveness in social and professional situations. It is correlated to higher socioeconomic status and higher perceived social support. Now, the interesting part is how to get our body to increase healthy dopamine levels. First, you need to find out what reward motivates you? A simplistic example: treating the eye, or seeing the patient smile when they can read a letter properly on the Snellen chart. These are types of motivation, and we need to link them to goals. For example, in that case, ophthalmology residency. Now, that was the hard part. Good news that the simple part is to break down those goals to smaller short-term milestone and trigger a reward and dopamine high with each one. What we all know as a feedback loop, which helps build a routine or system to get small tasks completed. Now, a very important reminder is to mute our cell phone notification when trying to achieve a milestone, because it has been shown that those distractions will hijack our dopamine pathway. Now, there is a skill that mostly helps in achieving that feedback loop, and that is the to-do list or the checklist system. So first, according to Oregon State University Learning Center, this is the best way to form a checklist. First, you need to list the clear priorities and due dates, which helps choose highly important tasks. Second, divide large tasks and project into small manageable pieces. With a series of small tasks, you can make steady progress without feeling daunted or overwhelmed. Now, three, it is very important to cross things off your list. Now, the Heath brothers, the one who wrote the book Switch in 2010, they cite a study that concludes people find it more motivating to be partly finished with a long journey than to be at the starting gate of a shorter one. And I think that says it all. 4, use small period of time. I think we all know the Pomodoro technique, 50-minute work, 10-minute breaks. 5, plan ahead with efficiency in mind. Look for places to increase efficiency, your room, your desk, the library. And 5, very important, don't worry if you don't get everything done in the time you wanted to. Don't just disregard those unfinished tasks. Instead, evaluate them and plan to complete them. Remember that the good schedules and lists are flexible and realistic. If you constantly need more time than allocated for a task, use that information to more accurately plan your next to-do list. Now, very important message, your take-home message. First, pause to acknowledge each milestone. They are all equally important. Be your own cheerleader in everything you do. William Boyd Watterson, he is still a retired American cartoonist and the author of the comic strip Calvin and Hobbes. He encountered a lot of problems with his comic strip, but he said, and I think it's very specific and touching, small wins are still won, and the journey is more important than overnight success. And second, without going overboard, nurture this feedback loop. Check and smile. Now, let's talk about the newest findings. There was a study conducted in 2011 entitled Anatomically Distinct Dopamine Release During Anticipation and Experience of Peak Emotions to Music. And it shows that the level of dopamine were found to be 9% higher when volunteers were listening to music they enjoyed. So this shows the music that makes you feel good, music that moves you, music that gives you chills will naturally increase your dopamine. So look for music. It looks like music is intimately linked with our deepest reward system. Second, another study was conducted in 2003 and showed that physical exercise leads to increased serum calcium, which was transported to the brain, and this in turn enhanced brain dopamine synthesis. So look how physical exercise, any sort of physical exercise, is important not only for the body but also for the mind. Another note. So these were the main dopamine booster that I wanted to point out today. So first, seek your motivation feedback loop. Listen to music that makes you feel good and engage in physical activity as much as you can. On another note, I wanted to show the power of positive emotion and why happiness is important. In 2004, George Bonanno, I can hear you. I can. Okay, so in 2004, George Bonanno, who is a professor of clinical psychology, he challenged the assumption that resilience, positive emotional experience, or minor disruption in the ability. Okay, so I was talking about the findings that George Bonanno did in 2004. So I said he was a professor in clinical psychology. He challenged the assumption that resilience, positive emotion experience, or minor disruption in the ability to function after trauma or loss is not a rare or pathological, but that I tried to. Trying to unmute the person, to mute the person who is talking, but I can't somehow. Okay, I think we are good. So I'm going to repeat about the idea that I was just talking about. So George Bonanno, he challenged the assumption that resilience, positive emotion experience, or minor disruption in the functional function after trauma or loss is not rare or pathological, but that very happy people have the same pain and trauma, and it is more common than is often believed. In the same optic, Fredrickson also showed that happy disposition after the terroristic attack in 2001 helped individuals to bounce back. So this is very important to show that when life hurts, happiness is actually the cure. And it's very important whenever you can to keep a diary of things you are grateful for every day and be on the lookout for them and try and keep track because it's very important to remember these happy moments. Lastly, a kind reminder that happiness is a positive sum game and it's a beautiful thing to share. Buddha said it really well when he wrote, "Thousands of candles can be lighted from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. Happiness never decreases by being shared." I have two books that I want to recommend you. The first one is by Lynn Johnson. He is a 30 years experienced psychologist in the US. He wrote Enjoy Life, Healing with Happiness, How to Harness Positive Moods to Raise Your Energy, Effectiveness, and Joy. And the other one is by Martin Seligman. He is also an American psychologist. He is an educator and an author. And he is a strong promoter within the scientific community of his theories about positive psychology and well-being. He wrote Authentic Happiness, using the new positive psychology to release your potential for lasting fulfillment. These were my references that I mainly used for this presentation, and thank you. I hope that was helpful. Please, if you have any question, feel free to ask me either by chat or you can unmute yourself and thank you. No one has any question?
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I think that there was no question in the chat. I hope it was helpful. And have a great end of night. I will be ending the meeting now.